Thank you for tuning in to the best parenting show on the internet, Post Daily Dose.
It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post. It's the Post. The Post Daily Dose. It's the Post. It's the Post.
Hey, good evening, beautiful people, everyone there on Facebook. Welcome to another episode of Post Daily Dose with me, your trusted parenting advisor, faithful guide and servant on the healing journey. What's my name? Big Papa Brian+Post, baby. Hope everyone is doing fantastic this fine Saturday. We are going to be talking about how to assess your child's emotional age in this episode. And we are also going to talk about a common theme I've been seeing and hearing in some of the coaching I've been doing with some of our Inside the Matrix parents and some other parents also that I don't even think are in the Matrix, but they probably are. So anyway, it's been a fantastic day. Tomorrow in Oklahoma is supposed to be much nicer. It's been a hey mother. Mimi is hanging out with my 15-year-old Marley Jace this evening. I'm sure they're having a fantastic time. Hello, Ashley. And just, doing some grandma-granddaughter bonding. So that's a really cool thing. So I've been having these coaching calls, which I love because it's my kind of in the trenches experiences that I've always kind of thrived off of, that have helped me to continually, modify and reflect on everything that I teach you. Good evening, Peggy. And help me to just, make it better. And so because we're doing the Inside the Matrix, the live 28-day coaching program, which is actually going to be 30 days, it's given me more kind of hands-on interaction and feedback with parents with some of their challenges and some of their struggles. And something that's been coming up like consistently, and I think probably twice today, is the birth trauma of children, the in utero trauma showing up in their, actually, I was going to say 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 16 years old. And so here's what's interesting. So I know the title of tonight's talk is, Hey, LaJoy, and Hey, Kirsten. I know the topic of tonight's call is assessing your child's emotional age, and it's going to kind of tie into that. But before you can do that, I think it's important to understand the impact of the birth experience, not even just the birth experience, but the in utero experience. So one of my moms today said something that was so fascinating, and it's like almost a classic Inside the Parenting Matrix statement. And it's, because we were talking about her challenges with her little guy, and I was like, that sounds like, he probably had a pretty rough pre-verbal in utero experience. And she was like, yep, his mom was schizophrenic, addicted, and, it was a bad situation. And then she said, but he was a perfect baby. Hey, Stefan, but he was a perfect baby for several months. And I was like, that is an awesome Inside the Parenting Matrix statement. And I said, that's a beautiful contrast you just described, because Inside the Parenting Matrix, we are taught to completely discount the in utero experience. We're taught to completely discount the pre-verbal experience, and we do it consistently with adopted and foster children. I mean, consistently. And so we get these children who've had these sometimes horrendous experiences. And John Bowlby said the first 3 years of life established the blueprints for all your future relationships. And I really think, and that was in the 50s, he said that. And I think because the decade of the brain, we now know that it's from conception up to about 5 years of age that these experiences are shaped and create the blueprints for your future relationships. Conception, guys. As early as the 4th week after conception, the fetus can hear. By the 2nd trimester, the fetus is capable of psychological processing. All of this is pre-verbal material that's getting stored in the brainstem. So it's getting stored in the child's brainstem, and From that point forward, because your brainstem is the base of your brain, so all trauma, all personality traits, all painful experiences get stored at the base of this brainstem. And the way I like to describe it to you is then the amygdala, which sits above the brainstem, which releases cortisol, gets stirred up. When the amygdala gets triggered, it's like it starts to stir up the brainstem. And I always kind of use the example of a cup of coffee or oil and coffee. You can have the oil and the water or coffee or whatever, it's separated. And that oil on the bottom, although even theoretically and technically the oil is what's on top, but let's ignore that little tidbit of information. I don't need anyone to say, actually, Big Papa, the oil rises to the top. I know, it's okay. I'm just using an analogy. So the amygdala, when the amygdala gets triggered, it starts stirring the brainstem, and the greater the stress, the greater the threat of the amygdala, the faster and harder and deeper it stirs. Once you get deep enough, it stirs the trauma. It stirs all of the trauma, and all the trauma starts to come up, and it gets intertwined with the personality traits. And those things get supplanted in your child's brain before they're even born. And so there are behaviors that are showing up with your child right now that the parenting matrix tells you it's just willful disobedience. It's manipulation, it's disrespect, it's isolation, it's defiance, it's conduct disorder, it's ADHD, or it's anxiety, or it's depression. See, the parenting matrix likes to label behaviors. This is really important what I'm telling you. When you're operating inside the parenting matrix, what you get is a lot of conditioning towards labeling behaviors. And it's because that's what the parenting matrix is focused on. The parenting matrix, because it's based in fear and ultimately gives way to control and dominance and power, it is focused on what it sees. You guys can't see me spitting everywhere. I'm just like spitting everywhere. It's just fantastic. It doesn't show up. It's like not splattering like the phone or anything. It's wonderful. So what happens is inside the parenting matrix, we are conditioned to focus on what we see. And because we focus on what we see, we're always looking for a threat. So your amygdala is always looking for a threat. And this lets you know that we're such a fearful species, because we obsess about things out of the ordinary. We obsess about things that are threats. And your child's behavior is a threat. And this is the amazing part. I mean, it's pretty overwhelming. I have to set back. Like when I'm about to say it, I have to set back because it's so overwhelming. When children are misbehaving, it has far less to do, our interventions into their behaviors have far less to do with them and much more to do with us. When children are misbehaving, our brains interpret it as a threat. And therefore, because we operate, we're conditioned inside the parenting matrix, we want to remove the threat. So we focus on how we can change the behavior, how we can get the child to stop the behavior, how we can threaten the child to stop the behavior, how we can suppress it or how we control it, or how we can overpower it and dominate it. That's like two things. So it's all focused on behaviors. Well, once you move outside of the parenting matrix and you start to see with a different lens, you realize that the behavior is just a surface. The behavior is just on the surface. What's underneath the roots is where the real issue is at. And so by being able to see the real issues, by being able to look at the root and not the surface, see, the surface is just a signal. It's like a distress signal. Negative behavior is nothing more than a distress signal. Distress, distress, distress. It's all it's saying. The child's saying, I'm stressed out. I'm in distress. That's all acting out is. It doesn't matter if your child is an infant, if they're 5, if they're 10, if they're 15. It doesn't matter. When they're acting out, it's a sign of distress. Underneath, they've moved outside of their window of tolerance. I have absolutely simplified this for you guys. And this is like just over the last 6 months where I've just like gotten so laser focused into this thing. It's so strange. But when your child is misbehaving, it's because they've gone outside of their window of tolerance, because they don't have enough of a strong enough oxytocin response to help lower their cortisol to keep them within their window of tolerance. And so then what happens is their behaviors manifest. Well, inside the parenting matrix, we want to focus on those behaviors. You have to get outside of the parenting matrix. You have to get outside of the dominant belief system, because the dominant belief system is all focused on behaviors, because the dominant belief system is mired in fear. And all fear does is see problems. See, fear doesn't see solutions. All fear sees is problems. And so you have to get outside of the parenting matrix, and you have to say, you know what? Maybe this isn't just about the fact that my son's not doing well with other kids in his classroom, or he's calling them names, or he's picking at them. Maybe there's something underneath that's going on. And when I start to look at that, when I start to look at not the behaviors, I don't get overwhelmed by the behaviors. I start to look at what's underneath. I start to have light bulbs going off. I mean, it's just like flashes, like the paparazzi. You know, it's just lights are flashing. They're flashing. And you start asking yourself questions. Why would he be calling them names? See, we inside the parenting matrix, say you got a parent shared this with me. She said, yes, Philip, behaviors communication. Victoria says, over the last 19 years, we've adopted 10 children from foster care. You are right. Thank you for that confirmation. So what we have a tendency to do, and this is what a mom was sharing with me, one of the stories today. So, I mean, because there's a 16-year-old just the other day. But we have a tendency to think about a child calling other children names. And if those other children get upset, the 7-year-old, starts making fun of them for crying and for getting upset. Then the teacher gets upset. That child is rendered almost helpless inside the parenting matrix, because all attention is on his behavior. All attention is on his behavior. So mom is reaching out to me saying, Big Papa, what can we do? What can I suggest to this teacher? I've suggested that she, look underneath that she respond to the child and not the behavior. But see, the problem is that the teacher is operating inside the matrix. And because the teacher's operating inside the matrix, all she sees is a negative behavior. She feels just as stressed out and upset as the other children are who are getting called names. So because she's in a state of stress, she's in a state of survival. When we move into a state of survival, this is so important. When we are in a state of survival, we are constricted. We are not open to relationship. This is why it's so important for adults. When we as adults become stressed and we constrict into survival, we cannot be open to relationship with our children. If we are not open, and this is parents, teachers, therapists, it doesn't matter, childcare staff, residential treatment staff, it doesn't matter. If we cannot be open to relationship with our children, we cannot trigger oxytocin in their brain. Therefore, we cannot help them calm down. Therefore, we cannot strengthen the relationship by helping them to get more regulated and us to get more connected, because we are in survival. And that's what happens when we are focused on behavior. So in that moment, when the teacher's reporting the 7-year-old's behavior to the mom, she's just like the other kids. And you know what? Truth be told, she was probably picked on and bullied when she was in school. And because she was picked on and bullied, she has extra sympathy for the kids who the 7-year-old's calling names to. Well, who's the one obviously stressed out? Yeah, the other kids get their feelings hurt because the 7-year-old's calling them names. Maybe they can't defend themselves against it because the names feel so bad and they start crying. But who's obviously the stressed out one? The 7-year-old. But see, we want to take the 7-year-old's behaviors and we want to label him as being mean. And then what I like, see, this is the veiled communication. He starts making fun of the other kids. What that really means inside the parenting matrix is he doesn't have a conscience. He doesn't care. He doesn't have empathy. He could be diagnosed conduct disorder. That's coming next. See, we just get carried away with these behaviors, but not one time do we stop and say, oh my gosh, he's having a really hard time relating to children his age because he's getting stressed in the environment. Therefore, he's regressing. He's emotionally probably like a 3-year-old trying to relate to 7-year-olds. He can't do it. He's getting stressed out. Then he starts making fun at him, poking at him because he's trying to connect. but he's trying to connect in the most maladaptive way because he's a 3-year-old, and a 3-year-old can't connect with a 7-year-old. So it's no different than the little brother who chases around the big brother, and before you know it, the little brother is throwing rocks at the big brother and all his friends because really all he wants to do is be accepted, but then they end up beating him up. Well, that's no different than what happens to this little kid. And that's no different than what happens to a lot of kids inside the parenting matrix. Because we're not looking at the stress and the fear, and then we're not even thinking, I don't know this kid's history. I don't know this kid's history. I should not be able, theoretically, I should not be able to take a text message from this mom and say, oh, he's stressed out. He's like a 3-year-old trying to relate to a 7-year-old. You know, you guys need to not put him in groups because he obviously can't handle the groups. Emotionally, he's not there. You need to give him one-on-one. You need to contain his environment. You need to ask the teacher to keep him close. Ask the teacher to build a relationship with him. I shouldn't be able to do that. Why am I doing that? Because I'm operating outside of the parenting matrix. And when I'm outside of the parenting matrix, guess what? I see things differently. I don't buy into all the fear and stress and overwhelm. I don't buy into the need to make children bad. So we have this need to make them bad. You know why? Not because we're bad people, not because we're insensitive. We have this need to make children bad because it's our own way of predicting. If I can say he's bad, then in my brain, I can form this pathway that says he's bad, therefore he's not going to surprise me and make me feel threatened and at risk. Now, I've been reviewing some shows because you guys, some of you follow me on my YouTube, Bryan+Post channel, and I do the weekly Inside the Parenting Matrix. Did a good one this week. So if you didn't get a chance, youtube.com, Bryan+Post, that's with a Y, and you'll get to my YouTube channel. We also have a Post+Institute channel. Now, these are not on the Post+Institute channel. We need to get them on there. But I did a good one. I've covered this particular video over the years in my lectures, and it's with this principal and this teacher and this 18-year-old young man, because I don't like to just focus on the little kids. That's fine. I mean, to me, there's no difference. I'll tell you that again. I remember I was interviewing Marty Glenn. Marty Glenn formed the Santa Barbara Graduate Institute, was a pre- and perinatal psychology school in Santa Barbara, California, and I was an adjunct faculty member there. And I was interviewing Marty for a podcast. I had a podcast before podcasts were even popular. I had a podcast 15 years ago. It's so weird. And so now people are doing podcasts. But I was interviewing Marty. She was talking about attachment with adults. And I said, Marty, what's different in the treatment of attachment with adults than with children? And she said, Brian, there's no difference. Because really, we're always treating that child. We're treating that wounded child. We're treating that trauma. We're treating that state of the brain that didn't get modified the way it needed to get, whether it's an adult, whether it's a child. So I think that's just fascinating. Have no idea where that came from, but the point being, it doesn't matter how old the kid is. So I showed the video Inside the Parenting Matrix, this most recent one. You should go check it out. It's good. But then today I was doing more research. Got some Dr. Phil coming up. It's going to be real good. Got one with a teenage daughter. It's out of control. No, Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil is full on in the parenting matrix. So if you want to think about your children's behaviors, here's what I want to suggest. When you start seeing the misbehavior, instead of immediately focusing on into the negative behavior, which is going to be natural, it's your inclination because that's how the parenting matrix has you conditioned. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to slow down. I want you to take some deep breaths. And I want you to ask yourself this question about your child. How old is he really right now? How old is he really right now? Is he really 15? Is he really 10? Is he really 5? Or is he closer to 12 months? Is he closer to 2 years old? Because if I take a minute and I slow down, and then I ask myself, what was going on back when he was 2? What was going on back when he was 12 months? What was going on back when he was in utero? Fascinating story today with one the parents was talking to. Just amazing. I'm not going to go into that, but it's just fascinating how the child's experience has mimicked so many aspects of the experience that he has now in the home. And it's actually not a bad thing. It's actually a thing that helps his brain be a little more settled because it's kind of familiar. Anyway, I'm digressing. Ask yourself, is my child really 15 right now. How old is he really? And sit with that. And now here's where the magic comes in. Here's where the magic comes in. Respond to the emotional age. Boom! Mic drop. Respond to the emotional age. Stop responding to the adolescent. Stop responding to the 8-year-old. Respond to the emotional age. You start responding to the emotional age and you do it consistently, you will be amazed. When you respond to the emotional age, here's the thing. When you respond to the emotional age, I want you, Jennifer, I was just going there. Because it's not just with adults, but it was with kids too. Jennifer says, how do you treat adults acting like toddlers without being condescending? Boom, I love that. Because here's what I was about to say. When you respond to the emotional age, you have to be willing to respond emotionally. If I've got an adult, if I'm in relationship with a 40-year-old adult who's acting 2 years old, how am I going to respond without sounding condescending? I'm going to say, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry you're so stressed. I'm really sorry you're upset. What can I do to help you feel better? What do you need right now? What can I do? You see? Same thing as you would. The only difference with a 2-year-old is that you'd actually go and say, honey, come here, honey. And you'd pick them up and you'd put them in your lap. Not that you might not do that with your husband, because you could, or your partner, or whoever the 40-year-old is that's acting like a 2-year-old. You can eventually get to the point, you go sit on the couch and you say, come here. Have you not ever done that before with an adult? Come here. Come here. Come here. Sit in my lap. No, I don't want to sit in your lap. I know you don't. I know you don't. Come here. Come here. I got you. I got you. I got you. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. I got you. Same thing. That's how you do it without being condescending. It's by being emotionally connected. See, it's when we're in our heads, which means we're still stressed, that we're condescending or that it sounds sarcastic. When you connect emotionally and you really see a 2-year-old in the midst of that 40-year-old, it just changes. All the threat goes away. Now, it's not easy. It's not easy because you're going to keep wanting to get threatened because you keep hearing the 40-year-old words. And those can be mean words. But if you keep looking to see the 2-year-old and you keep trying to connect to the 2-year-old emotionally, you won't get overwhelmed. The parenting matrix won't suck you back in. You'll just stay there and you'll stay present and you'll just be just like you would with a 2-year-old. So there you have it. Next time you're seeing negative behavior, stop and ask yourself, how is my child really this old? How old is my child really at this age, emotionally? And respond to the emotion. Hey, thank you for joining me yet again. The Parenting Matrix live program is closing at midnight. You already missed the first day. It's closing at midnight today, so you can actually still get in. Midnight tonight will be closed, so the live groups will be closed. So you can still get in, theparentingmatrix.com, and then at midnight it'll be closed. Probably I'll wake up in the morning and then close it at midnight. I say midnight, whatever. It'll be in the morning when I get up. Bam, close, moving on. You'll still be able to join the Levolution membership and get all the training, get all access and all that good stuff. But just being a part of the live group, it's going to be closed. I can't take any more people than we already have that are engaged. So after tonight, done. So God bless you. Enjoy your Saturday. Big Papa loves you. Remember, in any given situation, we always have two choices. We can react from what the parenting matrix tells us. We can react from fear. We can react from stress. We can react from survival. We can react from overwhelm. And we can keep doing the same thing. Or we can stop. We can take 3 to 10 deep breaths. We can slow ourselves down and we can choose love. And then we're operating outside of the parenting matrix. Have a fantastic Saturday. Watch a funny movie. eat a big old bowl of ice cream, chill out, don't be too serious. Just turn the lights down and play a little music, dance in the kitchen or whatever you got to do to feel good. But it's Saturday night, so enjoy yourself, relax, sleep good tonight. Tomorrow's gonna be an amazing Sunday for you. Another Sunday? Saturday. Oh, it's Friday night. Good gracious. Big Papa's been getting after it. It's Friday night. Hallelujah. I feel like I need to go party in the living room to Netflix. Yeah. All right, guys. God bless. We'll talk to you soon.